Good evening, Nick Inman from VolumeProfileTrader.com on the 1st of May. Today was a pretty strong day in the market. Talked about last night how you really had no sense of direction. You were either going to head to the top of the channel or back down to the bottom. And after a few days of consolidation, sure enough, we pushed higher. And then the sellers came in, started to sell, whether it was profit taking or shorts trying to step in and slant, or I should say stop the market from going higher because it's back at the top of the range. So you need to be aware of that, but also be aware that the fact that, now I'm going to zoom in so you can see, is the market really closed at the level which was resistance the past 2 days. I guess you could say 3 days. So you need to be aware of that, and now that we're in Globex, we'll see how it trades. But you want to be careful, and you don't want to be overexposed, or I should say you should have your stops tight, or maybe close to break even off of this recent move. And you have to play the ebbs and flows of the market. And we had our push higher, and now we're waiting to see, okay, is this going to be the top of the range and we're going to push lower again, or are we going to push through it? One thing to help maybe cue that is looking at, now this is the S&P 500 futures, but I just went through, right before I started this video, I went through the S&P 100 and looked at all of the names, looked at the charts, and I have to say all of them look pretty good. And I found myself writing down a few that I think could be opportunities for trades, and I wanted to let you know and see if let you come to your own conclusion. But we'll talk about the technicals and how it looks volume-wise tonight. So the S&P, I really don't have anything to say other than we sold into the strength. We being the market participants, the strength of the market today, which got as high as that 412 level that I talked about last night. It got right up to 1411.75. We sold off from that level. So as we, the market participants, have to be aware of that and realize that one day doesn't necessarily change anything. But if you want to be a disciplined trader, it's not so much what the market does. You're just using the market or any given stock or underlying as an instrument to trade. It doesn't matter if you sell the top or buy the bottom. It really doesn't. And I know your temptations are, you want to get as close to the bottom and as close to the top in terms of taking profits and buying, but that's not always the case, and it doesn't really matter. All you need are base hits, a few doubles, and the home runs will come in trading. They're not going to be every day, they're not going to be every month, but every once in a while you get one that you knock the cover off the ball, and it's a nice trade. So take advantage of those when they come, and feel free to add to those positions. But normally, the market environment only allows for doubles and singles. So take it while you can and manage your risk. Don't take excess risk. And your goal is to ultimately get that stop to break even, so you're risking no money on any given trade and trying to trail it, or taking profits when it hits your target. One thing I want to bring in on the S&P is, since it is May 1st, we'll look at April's profile, and what we saw was really a healthy 2-month pullback. And let me explain. We're in a defined uptrend where the market topped out. We had point of control for the month of March, and at the top end of the range we flushed. What was this high volume area? It was resistance until we broke through it. We traded in it. You can see we tested the top of it, traded lower successfully, and today we broke out. Now we're kind of back in, so it's worth watching. But let me fix that. The month of April you really only have one significant area of volume, and that was from 1375 up to 1383 or so, with an emphasis on the 1380 level, which was the point of control for the month. And basically what that says to me is if the market stays above this 1380 level, I'm going to get rid of these so you're not, okay. If the market stays above this 1380 level, the point of control for April, then we should be okay in the market. But ultimately, you want to see it hold this 1390 level, which was, it was support in March, it broke down, it was resistance in April, and now we're breaking back above it. Now we want to see it hold again. So that's the key. And then our resistance is clearly the 1412 to 1420 area or so, and you have to be careful there. So let's get into, just to quickly go over the Dow, new highs hit and then closed back into the range that it's been in, so that's just something to note. And let's see, the NASDAQ looks like it's forming some type of lower high here, so that's just something to be aware of. Also, gold, I continue to think this is something that you want to hold. When you look around the world, do you want to be holding euros? Not really. Well, personally, definitely not. I don't really want to be holding any commodity currency. If that was the case, I would just be long equities. And I do want to be holding a decent amount of dollars, because I do think that that is where people will flock when the going gets tough, at least for now. So gold and dollars are where I primarily want to be outside of equities. And right now, gold continues to hang in there. 1663, that's not our point of control for the year. That's where we closed. 1666 is the point of control for the year. If we start, and we're starting to, we successfully got to the top end of this range. Now we have to see, okay, will the sellers push this back down to the 1620s or so, or are we going to consolidate here and break above 1680 or so? And if that's the case, then I would have to think that, and this is, I don't necessarily think a bold call, but you would have to say 1800s in the cards. And there's really, this volume, 1725 or so, was the point of control for the year until we did a lot of trading around in this area. So just, be aware of the opportunity. I'm still long the 160 by 162 call spread on GLD. It's, it came back in my face a little bit today, still profitable, but I'm ready to take that position off for a break even if I have to, because I'm not willing to lose money on a trade that I've already made money on, and I hope you have a similar view on that. Alright, Euro. I have to be honest, I shorted the Euro today, not through the FX markets, which most traders aren't Forex traders, they stick with equities. So what I did to make it easier for the followers of, who watch these videos, I bought the ultra short Euro ETF. Now, a couple things you have to be aware of is I'm assuming it has a rebalancing ultra short, so you're looking for the trade to work out in your favor. But I'm looking at these levels. It's at the bottom end of the range, or the top end of the range on the Euro. One thing that's happened recently is this volume has become more significant. This 144, 141 area, that was the most significant level for volume until the past week or so. We got a point of control shift from these levels back down to the 132, 132.27, I think, the point of control for the year. And so you can kind of look, I don't know why I have Fibonacci's on there. This 132 to 130, almost 131, is, the volume there is massive, and it's going to break one way or the other. It's going to do it soon. So my feelings on the Euro, I guess it could go higher. I mean, of course it could, but I think there's too much bad news for the euro to stabilize and move higher. So I would have to assume that this opportunity right here at the top end of this range is a good opportunity to get short the euro with a stop right above these levels. I put one right above today's intraday high, and then one above the highs from it looks like March. And on the that is on the what EOU or EUO. So just something to be aware of. But this is a name, ultra short euro. You're going to get two times the movement of the euro, and well, or maybe you should be familiar with the ETFs for currencies. They're very slow movers, so you just have to be aware of that. But anyways, I did take a short on the euro. Maybe something that you want to consider, which then kind of leads to the dollar. The dollar's been weak and continues to do so, but I don't think that's a reason to not be negative on the euro. We have a recent downtrend that's still holding. We are at the bottom end of the range, balancing a little bit. Would like to, well, there's two ways to view this. If you want the dollar to move higher, then you need to be holding, generally speaking, a lot more cash, and maybe even position yourself in such as like a UUP, where it's a dollar fund. So if dollars go higher, this is just consider it like a dividend payer pretty much for the next couple of months, whatever the case may be. But I'm not saying that dollars go higher. I'm really looking for them to stabilize, though, see if they do. One thing that may be noteworthy is for the week, and I know it's only been a couple of days, but what we've seen is complete rejection so far of this 78.90 level or so. It was resistance, then we had a huge move higher, very nice volume that should be noted today, and now we're at the point of control for the week. Just be aware that it was support back last week. We're looking for it to be support again. If that's the case, we should get a push higher on the dollar, which means you should be looking to take some profits on some of your equities short term. Natural gas continues to push higher off of these lows. You have the point of control for the year around 250. Watch out there. But overall, I think we really, I'm saying this when it's continues to move higher, but we could see a nice push up in natural gas. And I'm not saying that maybe the bottom's in, because I don't really think that's necessary to call. But you definitely have a level to trade against for now, 192. And look at names such as, and this is I'm digressing here, but Devon Energy continues to do nice. Chesapeake exploded today, which made our 19 by 20 call spreads instant winners. They were already winners yesterday, but they were up over 125%. That's where I took profits today on those spreads. It came out with earnings tonight. They disappointed. They are basically back. Chesapeake is, that is, back at this 1840, 1850 level. That's why you take risk off. You got your big pop. It came straight to the strike that we were short. You take the profits off. I kept 20% of the position on, because there was a potential to make another 50% on the entire trade. The equivalent if I kept the entire 100% on, and it didn't happen. So I risked 20% gains in option value for 50% in, potentially on top of the 125 that I already rang in. So I only made 100% on the trade, so unfortunately, right? So that was a good trade, and glad I took it. Copper had a pretty nice bounce. This trend line's holding, and now we're at the point of control for the year. We're back in this congestion. Just watch it. Keep an eye on it. See what it does. But this is pretty impressive, and a name that I have wanted to get involved in, but I haven't yet, is Southern Copper. Continues just to trickle higher. Uh, Dividend coming out. I don't know when the ex-dividend date is. It may have already passed, but uh, I think this is a name that you want to get involved. It pays 6.5% over the course of the year. You sell monthly calls against it, or you time the ebb and flows of the market. You'll probably end up annualizing 30 to 40% on this name, even if it stays in a general range. That's not bad, and it's something worth looking at. Pfizer reported earnings. Remember, we got long this on the 16th or 17th, depending on when you got in. This is a name that I still think that you continue to own. Dividends coming out soon, so really nothing much to say there. CVR Partners continues to trickle higher. This is what you want to see. Earnings come out. Actually, earnings were reported 2 days ago. I'm sorry. The dividend is where I'm trying to go. Let's see if we can get to this. Okay, the dividend comes out on the 4th, so that's something to be aware of. This is a name that I do think trickles up to 30-31 though. So enjoy this ride. I hope you're on it. Similarly with Abiomed, ABMD caught this on the 23rd, I believe. Made a new high today. Stick with it. Earnings don't come out till the 16th or 17th, and so you have a little more time. I would keep a tight stop, and yes, I do mean this. Right below 24, right below this recent range. I don't think there's a reason to give up these gains that we've seen. Really, there's no reference other than this recent congestion zone. Hewlett-Packard finally got a little bit of a pop this morning outside of this consolidation range, just to close back at the top end of the range. I continue to think this is a name that you can accumulate at these lower levels. Earnings come out later this month, I believe. Let's see. The 23rd. So just something to be aware of. American Express, a new high today. It's now outperforming Visa and MasterCard. So if you have to be in a name, American Express, I think it's going to work. And I think it will continue to work. If you remember, we were buying this in the mid-40s. So if you're still on this name, continue to enjoy. CSX had a nice day today. Sold into the strength as far as the market. We got back up to the top end of this range. It got sold into. Volume's been light, but I think you stick with it. And if you feel the need to lighten up at the top end of this range, then do so. But if you look at the IYT, it's sitting right on top of the point of control for the year. What we have is we have basically a little double bottom here. Then we have a higher low on the 23rd. And now we're at the top end of the range. So we could potentially see a breakout to the upside and downside, of course. But the fact that we're above this point of control for the year, right, this 92.53 level, encourages me, and it looks good. That's the main thing. And if it continues to look good, it makes me want to continue to hold CSX. Alright, a few banks I want to talk about. Bank of America, this continues to sit at its point of control for the year. So this is a great way to determine when to try to get involved in a name. Bank of America came back to the 50-day moving average where a lot of people were looking to buy. You can see that did not work. But what did work was waiting for the point of control for the year, for price to reach that level, this $8 level, let's call it. And I'm not saying that Bank of America is going to go higher. I'm not a fan of Bank of America, but what I am saying is at least you have your risk defined at this $8 level. You place your stop right below. If it gets hit, you sell, and you move on, and you can continue to watch it. But your thesis for getting long off this point of control proves to be invalid. Therefore, it's not worth owning the stock. Morgan Stanley, similar situation. We had a little bit of we had a deep pullback. I'm going to delete all of these drawings really quick. We had a deep pullback to the 150. I'm sorry, it's the 144, which is a Fibonacci number. 144, and then 200 moving average. Point of control 1642. We're holding above that. I'm not recommending Morgan Stanley, but it's at an interesting level. I'm more in the camp of you still want to sell into strength, and that's just how I feel. There is one bank that I feel that could continue, actually two banks that could continue to move higher. For the big, large banks, 112 Fargo, it's at the top end of the range. It held its 50-day. It didn't have a severe pullback. But this is something that if you want to be long banks, this is one of the banks you want to be long. The other, JP Morgan, which is a little bit weaker, but it's worth looking at. So I kind of digressed from where I wanted to go. Merck, this is breaking out. I think you can have your stop right below the 50, right below this point of control, which is pretty much in the 38 range, and you can continue to ride this higher. Pays a little more than a 4% dividend over the course of a year. One name, like I said, sell cover calls. It's the easiest way to produce gains on uptrending stocks like this. And Merck, Pfizer, here's another one, Procter & Gamble. It got beat down from earnings. We're back at the bottom end of this value area. This green line represents these, I should say these green lines. Their job is to collect or bracket, I should say, 70% of the volume. And last time Procter was at the bottom end of this range, was it right to be a buyer or seller? Okay. So I think this is a cheap shot on Procter. It was similarly with Johnson & Johnson. Said buy it around the 63 range. Is that proven to be a right trade? Yes. Plus you have a dividend coming out. These are names that you want to be long right now, in my opinion. They're high quality dividend paying names. I don't think the risk is necessarily out there, or the risk is worth holding high beta equities unless if it's for a short term trade. Pepsi, you can put almost a buy stop above the 67 level or so. Looks like Pepsi wants to break out here, kind of catch up to Coke, which is great because Pepsi's a high quality company. It's not as good as Coke, in my opinion, and the opinion of the market right now. But it's something that may be worth considering. So maybe you can start scaling in now. Realize you're at the top end of the range. Realize it hasn't broken out yet. I'm sorry, and kind of go from there. ExxonMobil, despite its earnings and everyone saying how disappointing it was, Exxon looks like it wants to break out to the upside. We have a clear defined top here. Similarly, the same top that we had, and I remember recommending this because I was long Exxon when it broke out at these levels. It looks like it wants to do the same. We have the point of control for the year here. We're holding that level so far. So let's see if it can break out. And if so, Exxon's something that you definitely want to be long. Chevron, it's a little more volatile. But this is something that you may want to be long also. It's powering higher. I can't recommend to buy it now because of how much it's moved in the past week or so. But it still looks good. Another name which I recommended, I tried to get long this back in March. I got stopped out and it ended up being a buying opportunity, which is a little frustrating, but that's trading. And then it went off my radar. But maybe something that you want to look at is this potential flag pattern, which you can see is kind of forming. If we break out above the 109.50 level or so, 109.40, this may be something you want to get long. You had a huge consolidation range from 85 to 10, let's call it 85 to 105. You can see the significant volume, and now it looks like it's trying to break out from it. Kind of reminds me of Pfizer a little bit, where we had a huge consolidation range and a breakout to the upside. So anyways, I hope this helps. Hope it gives you some type of clue on what I'm doing. Really holding a lot of cash, short euros, long gold, long a a handful of these names, such as Visor, such as ABMD, AXP, CSX, looking to buy Merck, Southern Copper looking to buy, and Procter and Gamble, Pepsi, names like that. I'm looking to get involved in because I'm looking to secure some quality. Because I don't think that it's right to be in the cyclical names right now, and that's just how I feel. And that two sides makes a market. So if you feel differently, then go along cyclicals. But anyways, take care. Have a good night, and I'll talk to you tomorrow.